Hello and welcome to the Hedonistic Way Show. I am Renee Main and today I'm popping in because I want to share with you something that comes up quite a lot in conversations when we speak to the body of this work. I think in general mainstream society, then it's this flavor of conversation around what is sexy and what does it mean? Where did it actually come from? And what is the journey that we all go on with this term sexy? So I just want to start off by saying, let's just discuss where it actually came from, right? So this term sexy, it was coined in early in 1902, and that is with the origin of it. And so it becomes someone who was engrossed in sex, or that's how we described someone who was sexually attractive, or who we found to be sexually attractive. Now, what happened from there and with that is it become very subjective. So first of all, our if we think of our what we deem as our sexual energy, or what we find sexually attractive, all of these things. So we have to kind of, in order for us to understand it, we need to actually understand that it's very subjective, right? Because we are all individuals. So every single one of us has different flavors of what we find attractive and what we think is actually sexy. However, what happened was that society, or you might even say the media and marketing companies, begun to market sex because it is very sellable, right? And people, why is it so sellable? Why do people buy into this flavor of if it's sexy, I want it, I have to look this way, right? It's because what happened when this word came about, this word sexy came about in 1902, what we said was, I identify this as being sexy, right? So I want to be attractive. So what happens is we try to understand it, we try to conform it, we try to put it into a nice, tidy little box that it becomes easy to sell, right? So, it was, and you'll see that what is sexy comes in waves. So now it's become a fashion trend of what is sexy, right? In the mainstream kind of way in society. So for example, being in Australia, if you had a tan skin was very beautiful, right? Which is why in the, I don't know, is it 60s, 70s, when everyone was oiling up and out on the beach, right? And so then it was, and then we went from our goddesses who were very, very voluptuous and curly and soft bellied, and that was a sign of wealth and attractiveness, right? That is how we do. But then once we kind of got into it, it was okay, so curves are better. All right. So then people go out and go, all right, curves are much sexier, right? And then it was no, you have to be super duper slim. So then it took on another wave, right? So then if you were sexy, you went like this, right? And then it went through another wave where you go, okay, you have to be super bones popping sexy. And then it took on another wave where you go, okay, the thigh gap become a thing, right? So then you have to have thigh gap, but then you actually have to have cake, you have to have a butt as well, and then you have to have boobs, but then you actually really have to have a really small waist. So you can see how we've been, our sexuality has been stripped from us, right? And what we see as sexy has been stripped from us, and it's been sold back to us in fragmented, distorted, diluted, like it's not even truths, right? Like it's lies. And so that is how we've been perturbed. So then all of a sudden we're going, okay, I need to look this way in order to feel sexy. So can you see what's started to happen here is that sexiness becomes something that we had to try to obtain, right? But here's the thing, it's something that I'm incredibly passionate about, and that is having a new discussion around what it means to be sexy, what sexy is, and it's nothing that we need to obtain. It's nothing that we need to seek or sought after or even buy into. It's a quality that is innate within us, right? It is just a feeling state. And coming back to that, so what we're wanting to do is we're wanting to normalize this conversation that we're having around sexual energy, and this term that has really been demonized and has been butchered in so many different ways. And you can notice how the flavor of this has become very subjective to women, right? So all of a sudden you go, okay, like we need to have big boobs, we need to have a tiny waist, we need to have a big butt, but we need to have really toned thighs, and we need to have a thigh gap, we need to have a tan, but we can't actually lay out in the sun anymore. And we need to have this kind of hair and this right? And so it becomes something that was incredibly unachievable, right? It was really unachievable. So a big part of the body of my work is changing the conversation around what sex actually is, what sexy is, right? So what I will say is sexy is a state of mind. Right? It's not what our body looks like. It's not what our face looks like. It's nothing that when we look in the mirror and we can identify with that person, it's nothing to do with our, let's say, our humanness, and everything to do with the connection that we have to who we really are, right? On the flip side of all of this, right? So we had all of this dogma around sexual energy and around what sexy is, and to be sexually attractive, you need to physically look like this. On the flip side of that, what was already playing out as well is that sex was shamed, right? So then we have the Madonna whore split, right, which dates back to early Christianity, and that is saying that men want to experience a whore, right, but they don't marry a whore. Right? So you marry the Madonna, but you have sex with the whore. And if you enjoyed sex as a woman, then you weren't able to be a good wife and a good mother, right? Is essentially what it is. So this split happened where we become, again, this dualistic, this polarized person. So these women are being picked apart and split to go, okay, you're either someone who I just want to sleep with or someone who I want to take home and introduce to my parents. So then what happened within women was I can't show and express my sexual desires, because if I show and express my sexual desires, then I will not be worthy of marriage, right? And so then we suppressed, and we not to mention we would get called a whore, a slut, a prostitute, all of these things. And so with that then to go, okay, women began to shut down and close ourselves off sexually. Okay. And so then it becomes this, again, this dark little seedy corner of where we actually have these desires, these natural desires within ourselves. So then it caused this confusion in our bodies and in our minds, because it's going, I naturally have this desire to experience this thing. I naturally have sexual energy. The fact that I'm human means that I'm going to have sexual energy, right? Unless you're someone who identifies as asexual. So with this, then, become a huge disconnection from our sex. So it become localized, right? So instead of sexual energy being a connection with our mind, our body, and our spirit, which it actually is, our sex is just our connection to our mind, our body, and our spirit. That is why so many women will say, if my head's not in the game, I can't actually have sex, right? And so, because we've localized it right down, because it's a mind, body, spirit connection, particularly for women who are interconnected, and that's just the way our brains are wired, right? So I've often said that if you want to have sex with your partner who is a woman, then you would say, okay, foreplay starts at like 9 a.m. and you start to get her head in the game, right? Now, with that though, once we understand that it's not localized, so it's not just about a penis and a vagina, it's about two souls coming together and sharing a really sacred connection, right? So this is what it's about. So this sacredness, this sacred kink, this somatic kink that is alive in all of us, when we remember that we are infinite consciousness, we can actually up the ante and we can cultivate this feeling of sexy within our body as a feeling state, right? It is no different from I feel happy, I feel grateful, I feel sad, I feel angry. Sexy is a feeling state, right? It is just an energy that we can cultivate that is alive in all of us. However, the biggest thing is that we need to dismantle the conditions that we've placed around what it means to be sexually attractive, what it means to be sexy, right? I can't feel sexy because I really feel like I need to lose a few pounds. Or I feel really sad, so therefore I don't feel sexually alive, right? I look this way, so therefore I can't show up this way, or I'm married, I'm a mother, and I'm not supposed to feel these things anymore, right? So I'm just going to do it as a way of keeping my partner happy. So all of these things needs a complete reframe of an understanding that this is something, our sexuality has been robbed and stripped from us, right? And it has been sold back to us generations by generations in distorted, manipulative, dismantled lies, right? It is something that is alive in all of us. If you go back to the times of the goddess, they were all voluptuous, they were soft-bellied, they were fully expressed women, right? Fully expressed women who were fully in their sexual power, right? They were revered by not just men, by all people. And this is the power that is available to all of us, right? And so just going back to go, okay, what is my relationship with my sex? What is my relationship with my sexuality? What do I actually determine as being sexy? And where is it fitting into these societal constructs of these limiting beliefs, right? So what do I need to actually really dismantle so I can begin to find peace with who I am, right? With who I am. So once we do this and we can go, okay, our sex is just being localized, but in actuality, it is the alignment of our mind, our body, and our spirit that activates our erotic body. When we do this, we become at one with the all. It's God consciousness, it's infinite consciousness, which means infinite possibility, which means that it's a true embodiment of what it actually means to be holy and human. Right? Now, the glue that sticks that together, that binds that together, is that of hedonism, right? Because without pleasure, without hedonism, we cannot ever experience true empowerment or liberation. So, us passing it off as this frivolous thing that doesn't matter is us actually rejecting a really significant part of who we really are. And if we don't normalize this conversation, then it is going to continue for generations upon generations upon generations, right? That we will see abuse, whether it be sexual abuse, whether it be physical abuse, psychological abuse, it will continue to unfold until each person, men, women, begin to play their part in this and start prioritizing this in their own lives, right? So what needs to be dismantled? How do we cultivate this feeling of being sexy, right? To go, okay, all right, feeling sexy is just an energy I can cultivate, right? I hear a lot of women come into my container, and this sexual liberation that they're craving often has nothing to do with sex, but everything to do with them accepting themselves for who they really are. For understanding that our perception around what we thought it was, or who we thought we were, is totally different to who we actually are. So reigniting this conversation to say, okay, what are those parts of myself that I really loathe, that I dislike, that I don't see as sexy, that I really want to change? What are those parts? And you can write them down. Write them down. What are those parts of myself that I want to change? I want to change my arms, my legs, my eyes, my nose. Like, what is it? I want to change. Like, I feel like I'm always too much. I feel like I'm hiding, and I feel like I'm really shut down. I don't feel uninhibited. I feel too shy. I just feel too shut down. What are those parts that we're trying to hide, right? And what is the truest version of that? What would be the truest you? What would you do in this moment, right? What are you really hungering for? What are you really craving for right now? And being okay and going, okay, how is this beautiful, right? How are these traits? How are these qualities? How have they served me? How have they shaped me? How have they made me a stronger, better, more amazing, epic human? Right? So what we want to do is, all we're wanting to do is flip the gaze in which we see the world, right? In which we see ourselves, and begin to be much more compassionate because you are just the byproduct of generations upon generations upon generations that have been sold a fucking lie. And we need to call out this shit and normalize these conversations to go, I am a sexual person. I'm a liberated person. I'm worthy to experience the alignment of my mind, my body, and my spirit. I have the ability to transcend through pleasure. Without pleasure, I cannot be liberated. And by God, I hunger to be liberated. If you hunger to be free, then you need to harness your pleasure, your hedonism, and begin the alignment of your mind, your body, your spirit. What it means to be hedonistic, holy, and human. Because sexy is subjective. It's like happiness. It's like success. What does it actually mean? You can look any way and be fully tapped into your erotic body, and people will feel you. They will feel your sacredness, your sovereignty, and your power. You can be fully tapped in to your sex, your money, your magic, and your power. It doesn't matter what you look like. It matters about the relationship that you have to yourself, and beginning to open up this conversation with yourself about what that means for you, right? Where am I hiding? Where do I not even have the interest for it? Right? Where am I just not interested? How do I want to feel about this? How do I want to show up to this? How do I want to feel when I tap in to my sexual energy, right? Because we do this not just to experience more amazing sex. We do this because we show up to life differently. And this matters. It matters. So coming back to that, let this unraveling begin, changing this conversation and normalizing this conversation, because you're not just doing it for yourself. The ripple effect of this is much greater than you and I, right? We need more fully expressed humans in this world. We need more liberated, freeing people, right? We need to embrace our hedonistic, our holy, and our humanness. It is the only way that is sustainable and realistic, and that we can actually just melt into life and be this decadent version of ourselves. How we define sexy matters, but we need to be able to do it for ourselves. What does it mean for you? And creating not a meaning that has been passed down to us from generations upon generations, but taking the time to go, what does it mean for me? What does it mean for me? What do I want it to mean? And this will be the biggest awakening that you can really ever go on, right? Because you can be a spiritual badass, you can be embodied, you can be a mindset frigging guru, right? But without this glue, without this thread, there's still a misalignment, right? And for us, if we're going to like stand here and live our life in integrity and be congruent, then we need to honor that, and we need to have this conversation, right? And it's a beautiful conversation. It's a beautiful exploration. Taking something that has been shrunken into a size that's like a dried up old prune, and just having this beautiful, big, expansive conversation, recognizing that it is much greater than you and I, right? Our erotic body, our eros, our sexiness, our sexual energy, our sexual liberation, our hedonism, all of it is about, I see you, I love you, and I honor you, and I worship you. right? And then this art of this is this interaction. It's like an art form, right? Where we get to connect with others, not just lovers, but all people on a different level, right? Where we're not just looking at people with this sleazy gaze. We can actually see people. We can see their soul. We can hear their words. The inappropriate comments. Just there's no place for those, right? There's no desire to even speak to that because I see your soul. And once I see your soul, I can never unsee it. Changing the conversation around what sexy is matters. Normalizing this conversation that we are all entitled to feel worthy, to be drenched in pleasure, to be alive in our erotic body, to feel this life force travel through us, knowing that it's not something that we connect into, it's just something that we are. And when we do this, yes, we have better sex. Yes, we feel more confident. Yes, we feel more worthy. Yes, we feel more capable. Yes, we have amazing friggin' sex. But we actually serve on a greater scale, on a deeper scale. We communicate and dance with people totally differently. Yeah. Because we're liberated. We're liberated humans. What does the world look like when we are completely liberated? Every single person. When we don't subscribe to this conformity of beauty of what sexy is, knowing that there's no label, there's no thing that I can buy that makes me more sexually attractive. There's nothing I can put on. There's no cream I can put on. There's no thing that I can obtain that makes me feel sexier than I actually already innately am. And that is the remembrance that we need to come home to. Nothing that I buy, nothing that I get, nothing that I can put on will make me more sexually alive, will make me sexier than I already am, because that in which is alive in me at all times. It is nothing that I can access. It's just something that I am. And we need to normalize this conversation. So I encourage you to have a dance with what it means for you. What are the threads that have been penetrating into you that's been passed down from society or family or generations or cultures? What are some of these flavors that you can actually get ready to just dismantle now and disperse and to let go? And if you really want to have this remembrance, if you really want to come home to this and use this as this constant life force, right? This flow, this feeling state, then I really invite you to join me in the Intuitive Dominatrix internship, because that is the heart of everything that we do. You coming into alignment with your mind, your body, your spirit, activating your erotic body, melting into your eros, meeting yourself for who you really are. So reach out, connect, and I would love to journey with this and share this work with you further. Okay. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I'll see you next time. Bye.